Today, we are meeting with the Director of Interfaith Human Services. And Kurt, will you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you do there?
Well, I am in charge of overseeing all of our various programs, which I guess we'll talk about in a little bit, staffing, overseeing fundraising, just general management of both staff and programs in our small organization.
And how does Interfaith Human Services help folks who are dealing with housing?
You know, we do help in emergency situations with limited rental assistance, deposits for folks perhaps transitioning into a new housing situation, utilities. Of course, our fuel bank in the winter also helps people heat their houses as they exhaust governmental programs and personal resources. One of the things that a lot of people don't know or perhaps don't consider in the housing situation is our biggest program, which is kind of quiet in the background, our financial care program, where folks who have mental health, intellectual disability diagnosis will come to us or be sent to us by the Social Security Administration to manage their funds, to help keep them in safe housing and independent living. And that's our biggest program that a lot of people don't even know about.
About how many folks are you servicing in that program and in the others?
In that program, we right now are managing about 100 people a month. Our other programs, as far as rental assistance and so on, it really varies. Right now, surprisingly, we have limited number of folks coming to us for help. And we believe, one, that's partially because of all the governmental funding that's available right now for rental assistance and so on. And it's also part of our guidelines where we deal with emergencies. So part of the things that we look for are people, have they received an eviction notice? Have they received utility cutoffs? Which right now, there's still the moratorium helping folks. But I think the biggest thing is the governmental programs. Right now have the biggest pot of money to help, and it's a limited time frame. As I understand it, at the end of December will be, right now, the end of the programs.
How have you seen things change since the beginning of quarantine for the folks you're helping?
You know, for us, there hasn't been a lot of change, other than, as I said, because of governmental programs and restrictions on evictions and utility shutoffs. We've actually seen a drop in applications for financial help. But our free furniture program, where we offer folks who are, in a lot of times, starting a new household, perhaps some of the examples have been folks coming out of shelter situations where they may have left an abusive relationship and are trying to start fresh. That program has been strong, was very strong at the beginning of the quarantine. And when I say strong, I mean our demand was up because so many of the shelters and agencies were really energized to get people out of group living situations and get them independent. So that program has been up dramatically. Our financial care for folks, that has always been strong. I mean, we unfortunately right now have a waiting list. We can't handle any more on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and it's surprising to hear you say that you're servicing upwards of 100 people, and this is not a huge surge for you guys,
No.
right? That's a normal number for you.
Right.
Seems like a huge amount of people.
It is, and again, I've been really energized since I've come in to explain this program. It's one that a lot of people don't think about. The folks who are out there that if they don't have help paying their bills and prioritizing things, will very likely either be homeless or they'll be in some sort of institutional setting.
What are the biggest barriers that you're seeing in getting help to those who need it?
I think for us, as a nonprofit, we're always struggling for funds. That's just the nature of what we do.
And you guys don't have access to those large block grants that come from the government, right?
No, we do not. Our financial aid is funded by our Wishing Well campaign is a big one, and usually happens between Thanksgiving and Christmas, which I'm sure most folks in the area have seen it outside of Meyer Dairy or the Corner Room or Walmart. And then our congregational support that either helps directly with that program or covers our other costs that allows us to put more fundraised dollars into emergency help.
Yeah. Will you tell me a story about a client that you've seen come through, of course, omitting any personal information?
Well, I have a couple. It's really been eye-opening for me. I've been involved in ministry kind of work for a number of years, but not this kind. Some of the most moving to me is recently, again, because of our reputation within the small community, Social Security Administration called us because they knew they had a client who was living off of just their Social Security benefits. But there were some issues. And one of the issues was she was living in a tent in a family's backyard. And this is here in Center County. And the family was charging her $350 a month to live in the tent on their property. Wow. When we hear those kinds of things, when I hear those kinds of things, I question, why did I never hear of this before I came to IHS, of that need? It's not unusual for us to get clients where people could live off their income, but family is taking their income and using it for themselves instead of the person who should be receiving it. So say, another example recently came through where an individual, she has been living in her own home, paying her bills. Through the pandemic, one family member lost a job, was supposed to come and just stay for a week or two. They've now moved in, and they're letting our client pay for all the bills, even though they may be getting unemployment and so on. So by bringing 3-4 more people into the house, the bills are going up. And it's heartbreaking. And coming from my faith background, the idea of using a loved one's minimal resources or resources in general to benefit yourself, that's hard for me.
So those kind of, your financial stewardship programs in which folks' checks come to you, it's not just to make sure that they're spending it well, it's to protect them in other vulnerable situations from being taken advantage of by others who might be looking to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, it is shocking, and again, very sad, the cases of, let's call it what it is, exploitation that are out there. And if in some of these cases, many of these cases, these folks wouldn't be able to live independently. They would be homeless or in some sort of institution setting, group home. One of the things our caseworkers are proud of is no client that has ever been in our representative payee service has ever lost their housing because the rent wasn't paid. They've never had their utilities shut off. We actually had one client who came in to the program with a $5,000 electric bill, living only on Social Security. It's been a number of years. That bill's now paid off. And that individual is starting to set financial goals and has said to our caseworker, I would never be here So again, I think it's a very quiet issue in the community, but very heart-wrenching when you hear the stories and the thought of where would these folks be if they didn't have that help and they would be homeless.
And it's fascinating because I think we generally think of dealing with homelessness as you just need to get them into a living situation and get them enough money, or get them to a point where they can earn enough money where they can pay for it, right? But there's all these other issues that they have to deal with. And so some folks will need ongoing support for the remainder of their life.
Absolutely. The vast majority of our clients in that program will never manage their own money.
Yeah.
And again, I think it speaks to what our caseworkers do. We're seeing more and more people coming to us. Other agencies are getting out of the business, so to speak, and saying, will you take our clients? It's tough. The emergency aid that we offer, that's important. But again, those are folks that if they qualify for that aid, they should be able to move on their own resources and do well.
How would you like to see individuals, organizations like State College, Presbyterian, offer support and care for your clients?
Well, we have in the past had things like adopting a client that we have on long-term assistance or care, financial care. We also, interestingly enough, we're looking at new dynamics with our furniture program. We've had a great coordinator there who's been here for years, and he's getting ready to retire and move. And so we're looking at, is this a way we can better engage with the faith communities around here? Is this something that could be volunteer-driven? Could we have a person who works maybe even less hours because they have volunteers to back them up? Those are some things that we're looking at right now that would be helpful. In better times, we have office volunteers who come in and answer the phone for us, help with filing, that kind of thing. But and lastly, I guess I should say, I almost forgot, as long as everything continues to go forward as it is right now, we will still be attempting to do our Wishing Well campaign. One of our locations has been shut down by a corporate decision, but we have received a permit as of now to do Meyer Dairy, and we're waiting on the corner room. But what we're hoping to do after losing one location is find more volunteers that maybe we can do more days at the big locations we have. So that's certainly, I was going to say easy, but sometimes the weather isn't the nicest. But generally, it's not a skilled kind of thing or a long-term commitment. Usually folks take an hour period where they ring the bell and just say, hey, thank you.
Is there any way that individuals or organizations like ours can support and encourage frontline workers like those at Interfaith who are doing this work?
I think all of us, and I'm sure yourself as well, when you're out serving folks, sure, we obviously always appreciate financial support. But when folks just give us that card of, hey, you're making a difference, thank you for what you do, and that can be expressed in a lot of ways, but I think we all appreciate that. That helps energize us when we see that while we're quietly working in the background, that people care about that happening. So I think those, right now, those are probably the two ways.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to share or like us to know?
I think the biggest thing that we haven't covered is just that I want people to know IHS has not stopped operating at any point during the pandemic. Yes, like many places, we've changed the way we operate. Our lobby is closed. We often take voicemails and call back, but our caseworkers have taken to remote work at their home for most part. They are still available to their clients every day. And our furniture, we've worked some changes there where things like picking up furniture, we ask people to bring it to a garage or bring it to the outside of the home. But we're still operating, and we're thankful for the support of the community that's allowed us to do that, even when we can't be out doing fundraising.
And if anyone would like to get in touch with you or like to find ways that they could help and be more involved with Interfaith, how would they do that?
The easiest way is probably go to our website, which is interfaithhumanservices.org, and right in there there'll be a contact page with email information, telephone numbers, whichever's more convenient. Call, email, and then we get that to the right person. If it's a volunteer, we'll get back to them and let them know what our needs are, what the hours are that we would need help, that kind of thing. So probably interfaithhumanservices.org. They can read more in detail about the programs and get the contact information there.
Great. Kurt, thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you.
And for all that you do.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thanks. Same to you.